Hello, everybody. Back again today, this time with Magical Mystery Tour, another album in the Beatles chronology. Sam St. John's with me as usual. This is our journey through the Beatles, beginning to end. Each album, rank the songs, worst to best. Great album, 1967. Wasn't really intended as an album, as fans out there know. It was a soundtrack to a TV program, TV film of the same name in London, and an EP was put out. It was only 19 minutes, 6 songs, and they added 5 previous release singles to fill out the album. Only 11 tunes on here, the shortest one we've done so far, I believe, right, Sam? 11?
It is.
It is. Picks up the psychedelic theme, continued from Sgt. Pepper's, came out the same year. This is November of 67. Sgt. Pepper was late May, I believe, of 67.
That's a lot of music.
A lot of music, a lot of singles. Everything was happening at that time for the Beatles. They were probably at the height of their popularity, I would think. After the initial buzz, they were really taking the world by storm. Many of these songs, I guess, could fit into Sgt. Pepper if you look at it. They're a little bit more poppy, some of the singles and stuff, but same vibe, same general feeling. And I prefer this album a little bit over Magical Mystery Tour over Sgt. Pepper, but that's just me. They're very close as far as I'm concerned. But
yeah,
what do you think? Any opening statements before we jump in?
Yeah, I agree. If I was doing a Beatles ranking today, this would probably fall just before Sgt. Pepper, or just after it, I guess.
They would be neck and neck for sure.
They're neck and neck, yeah. Whatever album would be in front, the other one would be behind it, or vice versa. Yeah, and it's the only because it was released, through Capitol as an album through like the U.S. market, and so this is the only official U.S. album that's now considered part of their canon. It's like it's an official. It's not like introducing the Beatles or Meet the Beatles or
Right.
Beatles 65 or anything like that. This album was released like those albums as a full record, and it's the only one that they consider official Beatles canon. And yeah, I mean, it's got how many? It's got three songs that were #1 hits on this, all on the second side. They were all singles. Some of these songs predate Sgt. Pepper. We talked about that on the last video. Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields, which were a double A side. And yeah, I mean, just strong songs. I mean, you only have one on here by George, but again, it's only an 11-track album, so they're not going to give George 2 tracks on this time of their career. You don't have any songs from Ringo really on this one. He does contribute background vocals on a song, but yeah, it's just continuing with that 67 trend of psychedelia, but also great pop songs that aren't necessarily psychedelic. But don't let the cover fool you. It's a cheesy cover, but it's a great album.
Absolutely. All right, so as usual, we're going to go down 11 through 1. You're up first, and we'll go back and forth, see how we stack up.
Well, the first song that I'm going to put up, some people might be a little surprised by this, just because there's another song that isn't even like a full song. But my least favorite on this is Blue Jay Way by it's the George Harrison song. It's really dirge like. It's very it's almost dark, kind of almost, it's almost like gothic rock, like before that was even a thing, like Black Sabbath or something like that. But it's got like this like zoom 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 background, just really dirgy. He wrote it about a road in Los Angeles, and I know like I've never actually seen the movie, that might surprise people, but I know like in the movie, like he's kind of like sitting like with his legs crossed, and it's kind of like this psychedelic scene. And it's just never a song that I liked. It used to, when I was younger, it used to kind of scare me just because of how dark it was. But kind of one of the last, I would say probably the last George song, other than maybe, well, I guess the Inner Light later, but one of the last Indian related songs that George put out. It's still following that theme of Within You, Without You, just on a much darker level. So Blue Jay Way, that's my number 11.
Yeah, I have it like one space up, but my number 11 is the instrumental Flying, that spacey kind of jazzy psych rock fusion. It's a nice interlude. I like the way it sounds, but it's just so short and sweet that I put it in the bottom rung. Although you make a good argument for Blue Jay Way, which I'll have next.
Yeah, and so next I have Flying as well. Like you said, just kind of a quick little interlude from the EP. On the when it's put out as a full album, it doesn't really fit in the placement because it's the third song on the full length edition, and on the EP it's finishing up. I'm assuming it finishes up side A of the EP, and you've got all the Beatles kind of like ba, 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 da, it's kind of cheesy, but I love the guitar, the boom boom boom, and I really I've started liking this song a lot more the older I get. It is an instrumental, so it couldn't go further, but in the long run, I enjoy this just a bit more than Blue Jay. Actually, quite a bit more than Blue Jay Way. Blue Jay Way is probably my bottom 5 Beatles songs. So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I have it next up at number 10, and everything you said is true. George is sort of getting off a plane looking for a particular road or street. He's half asleep, half maybe on a drug stupor or whatever. I don't know what he's doing. He's unfocused. It's an unfocused sound. It's maybe intentionally to give you that psych feel. It is a little dark in tone. It's like being in a fugue state of consciousness where I don't know how to explain it. It's just, it's not my vibe. And it is one of the lesser George tunes that I've heard.
Yeah.
As a Beatle, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So like we mentioned in the beginning, this is it's 11 tracks. So I mean, this is already number 9. And from this point, from 9 to 1, I love all these songs.
Yeah.
I will say, because there's so many good songs, I'm liable to ruffle some feathers here, and I'm about to really ruffle some feathers with this next one.
Oh boy, I'm holding down my seat. Go ahead.
Many people will consider this song possibly the greatest Beatles song. I do not. I've never put it on the pedestal that others put it on. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong, but I'm standing by it. Number 9 for me is Strawberry Fields.
Wow, that does set me back. I thought you were going in a different direction, to be honest with you.
Well, buckle up because I think I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
It's things are gonna happen here. I've just never gotten into Strawberry Fields Forever. I don't know what it is. Maybe because I wasn't around when that song came out.
Yeah.
I will say that if I was judging the song based on the conglomeration that they made of this song on the Love album, the Cirque du Soleil soundtrack, I think that version is absolutely fantastic because there's no effects on the vocals. It's an acoustic guitar, which is right up my alley. So it's like just John and his acoustic guitar, and it kind of like the way that they have that version is it starts out kind of like the full process of writing the song. So it starts as almost like the demo of John doing it, and then and they get into like the middle section, they don't fully have all the instrumentation. Then at the end they have the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I prefer that much better. But they've obviously, I mean, they've changed John's voice, and then toward the end they kind of have his voice slowed down a little bit, and it's just long. And then I don't know, I don't care for the slide guitar work on it. I don't know. It's never one that I've really been drawn to. And again, John isn't my favorite Beatle. And I know, I mean, a lot of people you might even say that this is his finest achievement.
No,
I can understand what people talking about, kind of, but even then, I'm like, yeah, there were better songs. I mean, I'd put In My Life 20 notches over Strawberry Fields Forever. But again, I'll stop talking. That's number 9.
well, we're in agreement on that. In My Life, to me, is head and shoulders above Strawberry Fields, but I do like Strawberry Fields, and I like it on this album. It's higher. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to give.
And again, I will say it had Strawberry Fields been put on Sgt. Pepper, it might have been a better song for me.
I think that's where it belonged. But
yeah.
My number 9 is a Paul song. This is one you might have higher, being the Paul fan that you are. Your Mother Should Know. It's got that throwback style. It sounds like something from the pre-rock and roll days. It's pleasant. The melodic as heck. Lyrically, your mother should know. I don't know. I'm looking for a little deeper song. But it's a lovely piece of filler. That's what I wrote down. That's what it is. I mean, I'm not going to discount it because I do like it. It's just not monumental enough for me to have any higher than that on this particular record.
I can see it. And I do have it a little bit higher. So
Yeah.
we'll get there.
You're a Paul guy. You're a melody guy. And I get that too. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I am.
Yep.
Well, I think the song that you were just referring to is the song that I have next on my list. Number 8, All You Need Is Love. Yeah, it's out of all the songs on here, this is the first number 1 hit that I have on my list. It was a number 1 hit.
Yeah.
It was obviously done for the Our World benefit TV special where they kind of chimed into different areas of the world. It was a huge event back in the day when global events didn't take place like that. And so the Beatles agreed to put a song out and to perform it live in the studio. But I mean, they're performing it over a backing track, and they've got all of these hippie people in the audience. They have flowers. They have some of the Rolling Stones were there.
Yep.
Which just shows again how the Beatles were like the gods. Then there's everybody else. I mean, there's the whole, I'm not going to get into it, but the whole Beatles Stones things, that image is proof enough that the Stones are just, they're just like looking at the Beatles. Like Mick is kind of on the floor looking up at John and Paul on the stools. Like, man, this is where it's at. And they were just such influences. And I mean, look, John wrote the song in like 20 minutes because like he needed to write the song and put it out there, and it became an anthem. It was the anthem of 1967. I would probably go to my grave saying that. But in the end, I couldn't let my feelings of it being overdone get away from my ranking. And I mean, look, I drank out of a coffee cup this morning that said "All you need is love" on it. So I mean, it's one of those phrases that's everywhere. You'll find it in any T-shirt store, or it's on magnets and Beatles books, whatever you want to call it. So I mean, look, it's a perfect sentiment. I mean, we still need that sentiment, probably more so than we did in the 60s. But yeah, it's not there for me. It's number 8.
Well, all the reasons you gave is why it's way up on my list.
Okay.
I love that sentiment, and I love that gang around them just idolizing what they're doing with the hippie gear and all. That's just,
I will say, I think I specifically remember, I think the first time that I heard the song that I was blown away at the end, like when they're in the fade out, like when like the trumpets come in and you hear Paul start singing in the background, "She loves you." Yeah.
See, that works for me.
Which I love that part. And that kind of shows like look how the Beatles had evolved. They were singing "She Loves You," yeah in 63. And here we are, 67, just 4 years later, probably a little bit less than 4 years later.
Right.
They're doing this. I mean, they'd already released Sgt. Pepper. They'd already released 2 movies.
Yeah.
Like they were a different group of guys than they were when they were singing "She Loves You."
Yeah, I guess time slowed down for them. I mean, it seemed like forever, but it was a presidential term is what it was. It was a short.
It was. Yeah.
But I love the song, so I'm going to talk about that later. My number 8 is "Baby You're a Rich Man," which another really solid tune, as far as I'm concerned. Talking about the beautiful people, like the hippie movement. What do you want to be? What do you want to see? People dropping out of society and getting thrown into the whole Haight-Ashbury drugs, tune in, drop out, whatever that saying was. Keep all your money in a big brown bag. Very surreal lyric. "Inside the Zoo," which is a surreal lyric. I don't know. What does financial wealth and monetary possessions really mean when you come down to it? So I like the song. It's very melodic as well for a John song. "Baby, you're a rich man too." Good stuff.
Was it the B-side of Hello Goodbye. I can't remember.
I think it might have been, yeah.
Because I know when I started playing the Beatles quite a bit, that my dad, he didn't have a lot of Beatles growing up, but he remembers having that on a single. And I think it was with Hello Goodbye. No,
Yeah,
I think it was might have been with I'm the Walrus. Anyway,
I just
it's
want to
my
add
number.
one thing before I let you go.
Sure.
George, I just want to make this one point. George said the message of the song was that everybody's wealthy within themselves, find that inner peace, regardless of material possessions. And everybody can be a rich man if they really, embrace that feeling of finding happiness and peace. And I guess that's part of what that transcendental meditation and all that stuff they went through was.
Yeah.
Finding happiness. I'm sorry to cut you off.
I was gonna say you could keep talking. I mean, it's my number 7, so we can keep talking
Yeah, go
about
ahead.
it.
Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I know like one of the speculations was that it was written about Brian Epstein, who had just passed away.
Right. Yep.
And that it was kind of about him. And as we saw, those of us that saw the Get Back movie, which I think everybody has at this point more than one time, but Brian Epstein, they looked at as kind of like their father per se in business. I mean, he was not much older than they were, but he was a businessman and he knew how to get things done. And then once Brian Epstein passed away, they were just kind of all over the place. I mean, Magical Mystery Tour as the film itself was essentially like ad lib. It was very loose, very, it was put together poorly, the movie. It was filmed in this beautiful color, but nobody in England had color TVs. So it came out in black and white, on Christmas. And so the whole effect of it wasn't thought through. And it was probably the Beatles just thinking, we're kind of we're on another level now of our career, not necessarily for the better, just because we've lost Brian Epstein. And again, in terms of the song itself, it's always been one that I've loved to sing along to. That intro, like the brown, I don't know if that's a Moog synthesizer or what it is, but I love the distortion in the voice in this one. A lot of times I'm kind of funny about the vocals getting changed, but John almost sounds like far away, singing on this higher level of his vocal range. And then, toward the end, Paul is kind of singing the chorus, baby, you're a rich. And then I like how at the end, like they keep singing it repeat, and Paul just goes, baby, and he's way up there. Yeah. Really, really a melodic song, and I love the drums on it. Just very almost slow on the drums, but yeah, it's kind of middle of the pack for me for the full album.
Yeah, same here. My number 7 is the title track. Maybe people get a little upset there, right? Smack down.
They're already upset at me. Don't worry about yourself.
Magical Mystery Tour at number 7. Similar beginning to Sgt. Pepper, really, where they're announcing and inviting you in, so to speak, the trumpet fanfare and signals pomp and circumstance, something big's coming, that type of thing. And they do that with Sgt. Pepper, a little introduction, satisfaction guaranteed, you're going to have a good time. Come on the Magical Mystery Tour. It's coming to take you away. All that good stuff. So it's a fun song, but I like 6 songs here better. So that's why I put it at number 7.
Well, let me just keep knocking them out here. Number 6 for me is Penny Lane. This is the big Paul hit on the album, one of 2 big Paul hits on the album. Again, it was part of that double A side with Strawberry Fields, where they both were. John on one side was introspective about his past, and Penny Lane is Paul's version. Of course, Paul's is much more upbeat, and he's just listing off all the things that he would see on Penny Lane back in Liverpool. The barber sharing photographs of every head he's had the pleasure to know. It's a ton of imagery. It's a very British song, I think.
It is.
It almost could have been almost like a Kinks song, because I consider the Kinks to be like the most British band. Whereas like the Beatles, they admittedly drew influences from Chuck Berry or Carl Perkins and those guys. The Kinks were almost fully British. I mean, they were like their own. They stuck to the British music, and this one is a very British song, so that's maybe why I associate it with the Kinks. But it's one that he still plays today. Beautiful chorus. I love how the key changes at the end. The horns are great. And then probably the weakest part of the song to me is how it ends, where he just kind of says Penny Lane, and then it just ends. It's
Yeah,
almost like that's probably like the weakest point of the song, but everything else, it's beautiful imagery. Only Paul McCartney could write that song. And yeah, there's some strong songs on this album, so it's middle of the road.
I like what you said about the imagery and being very British, and the Kinks analogies right on the money. I have it a
Yeah.
little bit higher. My number 6 is The Fool on the Hill, Paul tune. I like it, like I like all these songs. Uh, I don't know whether he's pointing fingers at the Maharishi or you can go by the lyrics here. Day after day, alone on a hill, the man with the foolish grin is keeping perfectly still. That would fit the Maharishi. He never gives you answers, head in the clouds. He just never shows his feelings. So all those little lyrics add up to what he's talking about. It's got that piano-based ballad, several flutes add to the texture of the song. What else do I have here? And it feels like a merry-go-round where he's going round and round and round and round. You know, almost
Yeah.
like spinning. It's like a spinning wheel going round and round, like a carousel. You get that feel when you're listening to the song. And I remember the cover version, which was actually a number 6 hit for Sergio Mendes in Brazil '66 in 1968, a
Mhm.
year later, which a completely different tune, but very enjoyable as well. But I like the Beatles version a little bit better.
Yeah. All right, let's knock out the last number 1 hit on the album for me, and that's Hello Goodbye is number
Woo.
5 for me.
Well, we can talk
Again,
about this together because I have it at number 5 too. So go ahead.
oh great. So at least I'm not 100% insane. But I have somebody in my camp. Yeah, I mean, for one thing, I mean it's a fun song. Everybody knows the song. I mean, even little kids know this song when they're singing the Beatles.
Yeah.
It's been in commercials and movies. Paul McCartney still does it. It's just a big song. Not a whole lot lyrically to it. Just you say up, I say down kind of lyrics.
Yeah.
I love the promo that came out with it where they're back in their Sergeant Pepper gear. But I guess the reason I love that promo is because obviously in Sergeant Pepper they all had facial hair, and when they do the hello goodbye, Paul and John have shaved at that point, but they're still in the Sergeant Pepper gear. So I think that's kind of neat. And obviously like the big ending where they kind of have a false ending when they say hello, oh, oh, and then it stops and then, hey, la,
Yeah.
and then chaka chaka cha cha, and then like there's the percussion. It's a fun song.
That's
I mean,
cool.
good grief.
Yeah.
It's such a Paul McCartney song again. I mean, he's always kind of hearkening back to the old kind of music, and this kind of could be like an old, maybe not vaudeville, but it could have been an old show tune or a song in an old movie, and the Beatles could have made it contemporary. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason it was number 1 because it's so catchy.
Very commercial. It was intended that way, catchy. I like the word association game, even though it's simple. There's no extravagant words here. You say goodbye, I say hello. You say stay, I say go, all that nonsense. You say hi, I say low, hello. Very simplistic, catchy chorus. It's almost a bubblegum poppy kind of song, even though it's the Beatles. I mean, that's the way I look at it. It was a big hit all over the radio. I like it. I mean, I was a kid when that came out, so it always takes me back to being like 11 years old or something, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great song. It is, and I mean, we're in the top 5 of a really great album. So
yeah.
Number 4, you mentioned it earlier. It's the title track, Magical Mystery Tour. Like you said, it's a great intro to the album. They're obviously keeping with the theme, like you said, from Sergeant Pepper, where they have an intro to the record, really for the movie. And it's a song that McCartney he opens his shows a lot now with it. But great vocals by McCartney. Toward the magical mystery tour is hoping to take you away. And then it kind of gets psychedelic, where they say the mystery trip, and then say down, 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 down. It's kind of
Yeah.
like Adam West as Batman, with his dancing. But it's a great track. It's totally 60s. You can picture them in the bus, and yeah, it's a rocking song.
It is. My number 4 is one that you thought you were going to take a lot of heat for way back. Strawberry Fields Forever. I have it at 4. It's just a psychedelic trip down memory lane of this place where he remembers Strawberry Field, which is a Salvation Army children's home in the suburbs of Liverpool. Nostalgic, takes you to a place. It's like very dreamy and surreal, though, at the same time, with the accompanying music, distorted voice. I like it. I mean, what's not to like? Nothing is real, nothing to get hung about. That British little term there. Living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see. It doesn't matter much to me. It's like very apathetic, and yet it's kind of a whatever will be attitude, I guess, from the drugs. It's like spaced out kind of thing. I enjoy it. He always adds that little mystery to the song of being in a different state of mind, which with his voice or hidden lyrics or whatever it is. But I think it's a good song for sure. And it would have fit into Sergeant Pepper really, really well. Hate to beat a dead horse, but we've been over that a few times.
Yeah. Number 3, you mentioned it. It's a Paul song, "Fool on the Hill." I know it's often attributed, it's often used in reference to politicians. A lot of times it's used in kind of like anti-political ads, and it could be. I mean, only Paul McCartney truly knows what it's about. There's a promo video for that tool from the Magical Mystery Tour album where he's kind of like in slow motion, like jumping around.
Yeah.
Beautiful song. I mean, I think there's a version that he did when he performed it in Red Square in Russia back in the early 2000s. And he's singing. I think Putin is there in the audience, so maybe he was making a statement. Who knows? But it's a beautiful ballad. Again, it's one. It's timeless. I mean, it doesn't sound like the 60s, except maybe the flute toward the middle part. But if you take that flute out, I mean, it can be any time, and it's just beautiful. I love hearing Paul McCartney play piano, and like I said, I'm a McCartney fan. It's so melodic, and it's a beautiful ballad. So it's number 3.
My number 3 is Penny Lane, another Paul song. You really did a good job talking about it with the British vibe going on, the word structure, fish and finger pies, that's very British right there. A nurse selling poppies from a tray, so you can see the person walking down the street, the banker, fire engine, the barbershop, all that stuff's covered. I'm a sucker for nostalgic tunes, so that's the reason it's a little higher on my list. And I like that image of beneath the blue suburban skies too. It's a cool image. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. There's a piccolo solo here as well. Flutes, oboes, trumpets, great arrangement. And it's just a vivid recollection of a time and place. It's a great pop song. And I think pretty highly of it. So I'm putting it at number 3.
All right, top 2. And I know one of these you haven't mentioned yet. And anyway, my number 2, again, a lot of times considered one of the best Beatles songs. "I Am the Walrus" is my number 2. John's probably psychedelic peak. What's it about? We don't know. John doesn't know. John doesn't know what it's about. He admitted to not knowing what it was about. He said he wrote it to kind of mess up some people's notions of like the Beatles are putting secret messages in their music, and at this point the whole Paul is dead conspiracy was in full pursuit. After Paul was in an automobile accident in '66, and I mean it's psychedelic. The strings, the cellos, the violins, backwards loops and weird like voices from like the radio. At the end, the whole "everybody get one, everybody got one."
Yeah.
Goo goo gajoob, what does that mean? We don't know, but it's a rocking song. I mean, it's one that, had the Beatles stayed together, it would have been cool to see how they would have done it live once technology would have kicked back in, and they could have actually performed it on stage. Just a great song, and then just this huge crescendo at the end. He's going juba juba juba. It's a great song. It is, even though it doesn't make any sense. I love it.
I'm surprised it's as high on your list as it is, even over like a Penny Lane, which is a Paul song. But
Yeah, I know.
it doesn't fit your usual ranking, but that's good. You must really love I Am the Walrus. So
Yeah, it's a good song.
I have it at number 2 also.
Cool.
Impossible to decipher the lyrics, like you said. It's acid inspired or whatever. I am the Eggman, I am the Walrus. I mean, it does have a Lucy in the Sky reference in it. Edgar Allan Poe's mentioned in it. This is the ultimate psych rock song, masterpiece. Strings thrown in, everything, woodwinds, brass. It's got a couple of the Moody Blues singing backing vocals, Ray Thomas and Mike Pinder. And it was actually banned on the BBC for having that line, "Boy, you've been a naughty girl, you let your knickers down." That was banned at one time for that little line. So,
and they also said a line, pornographic priestess.
That's right. Threw the kitchen sink in there.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I think there was a story where kids, some class was deciphering Beatles lyrics, and some little boy wrote to John, like, what does this song mean? And so then I think like they put out this song and said that'll confuse a little bugger or something like that. Like just to John's humor, his snarky humor. So that was kind of neat.
Yeah. All right, number 1.
Number 1, I know what yours is, and yeah, this is probably the biggest surprise I've had so far on any of the albums.
I can't believe it.
Your Mother Should Know is number 1 for me.
Wow.
I've always loved this song. I love even like the cornball nature of the background vocals, and then the sing it again, da 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 da. Da. I love the whole 1920s sounding vaudeville. I mean, I even had, I had When I'm 64 kind of high as well. I love those types of songs. Even Honey Pie, I love that song too on the White Album. That whole series of songs that Paul did in the later 60s. I love them to death. This one was always so catchy to me. I listened to it more than probably any of the songs other than I Am the Walrus as a teenager, which was funny because you're like, oh, the Beatles, the greatest rock band of all time, but my favorite song on this album is Your Mother Should Know, which is not even a pop song. It's like a show tune song.
Yeah, it's like a show tune. Yeah,
I love it. I love the whole the scene of them in the white suits, coming down the stairway, kind of kicking their legs, and they have the carnations. Yeah. And I know, again, one of the whole Paul is dead conspiracy things was that, you had the carnations, Paul's rose was black while the others were red. So, they're like, oh, that's a clue. He's dead, the black rose, but whatever. It's a great song. I love it. It'll be in my head the rest of the evening, I think.
We all know what my number 1 is. All You Need Is Love. It's just such a unifying song about that particular year too. You mentioned Our World, which is the TV live global event that was going on. They're dressed in the hippie outfits, the paisley beads, surrounded by other friends and other musicians like Mick, Keith, and Eric Clapton, I believe, was there. Keith Moon, the girlfriends, they're all there. It's like absolute love fest. Perfect song for the summer of love, but even though it was a little bit later than that when this album came out, it's 1967. It's a total vibe. And I like the end where you brought it up. Love is all you need. She loves you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The throwback to the beginning. Mm-hmm. It just works for me. And again, I was a kid at that time, and I tend to favor a lot of those songs, the pop songs that were out when I was young. I had some of them on 45 and played them to death. They still hold up for me. And that's one of them. Hello, Goodbye is another one I really like too.
Yeah, both number 1 hits.
Yeah.
They were all over the radio.
Yeah.
Still are. So
it's something about growing up and having that stuff in your blood.
Yeah,
You know, you can't take it away. It's just part of who you are if you're a Beatles fan.
right.
And
I
even
agree.
though it's been played to death, and I don't care about that. If it's a good song, it's a good song. It's going to stand up. So,
Yeah, I get it.
so another great, fantastic trip down memory lane, as they say. This was a
The
good one.
mystery trip. Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I like the surprises too. You know, we always have them,
This one was a big one. Yeah, this is probably furthest apart we've been.
even though we both agree it's a fantastic album. It's just how you
Yep,
stack them up.
that is.
Magical Mystery Tour, folks. Check it out if you haven't. Oh, you
Why
young,
haven't you?
yeah, why you haven't used the right question. Anyway, we're gonna be back next time with Abbey Road. And shortly thereafter, Let It Be, and then we'll hit the past masters and wind this journey up. So it's been really fantastic ever since we started it, and it's flown by, even though we've been doing it for a number of weeks. We've been doing 2 a week. It seems like, wow, how did we get here so fast?
Yeah, it's amazing. And again, all these studio albums came out in a matter of 7 years. So think about
I
that.
know. Think about that output. I mean, and not to mention the singles that were jammed in there in between that didn't make some of these albums. But we're going to cover them in the past masters too, to make it a complete project. So
Yeah.
check out Sam St. John's channel. Make sure you subscribe, leave comments. We'll be back in a week's time and do it all over again with Abbey Road, Sam's favorite and my number 2 Beatles album of all time. So that'll be a classic trip down that memory lane.
Yeah.
For Sam St. John, Rich Strickler, take care, leave the comments, and we'll see you next time. Bye.